Okay, let's dive right into this explainer, where we're going to guide you through the absolutely terrifying architecture of digital folklore. Specifically, we're looking at the infamous internet legend known as the NoEnd House. Today, we are going to completely deconstruct exactly how these modern myths are meticulously engineered to hack your psychology and honestly to completely blur the line between internet fiction and your everyday reality. It is a wild ride, so let's get into it.
So I want you to ask yourself, would you risk your own sanity for $500? We're starting with a really simple hook here, one that drives our protagonist, a young guy named David Williams, into what seems like an impossible bet. According to the original 2011 story, David gets a message from an old college buddy, Peter Terry. Peter pitches him this challenge. There's this haunted house located just outside the city, and it has exactly 9 rooms. Survive all 9 rooms, reach the exit, and you win $500 in cash. Now, it sounds way too good to be true, right? And despite his friend explicitly warning him that this house is, quote, unnatural, David takes the bait. But before we follow David inside to see what happens, we really need to understand the psychological trap he is stepping into.
To truly understand the fear factor here, imagine yourself actually playing this ritual game. What you're seeing here is the elevator game, which is another super famous piece of digital lore. Supposedly, following these highly specific, completely arbitrary instructions will literally transport you to another dimension. Now, what is truly terrifying about this concept is how it frames a supernatural threat. It's not presented as a ghost story, it's a set of objective instructions. You aren't just sitting back and reading, you are actively being invited to play along.
And this interactive trop brings us to a really core concept explored by researchers down at Michoacan University. They define these kinds of stories as creepypastas, a term you've probably heard, derived from copy-paste. Academically speaking, this marks a fascinating shift from your traditional oral campfire tales to these highly immersive digital myths. Think about it. With a traditional legend, the distance between you, the listener, and the story itself is very clear. You know it's a story. But digital folklore? It uses forums, first-person blog posts, and supposed leaked documents to make you actively second-guess if what you are reading is actually real.
Just look at how clinical and direct these translated instructions are. By formatting a supernatural threat as a straightforward step-by-step manual, the author completely bypasses your brain's natural fiction filters. You aren't evaluating a creative narrative anymore. Your brain shifts into survival mode, literally memorizing rules to stay alive. It's brilliant, and it's highly manipulative. Keeping all that psychological manipulation in mind, let's jump back to David. He arrives at the NoEnd House, and surprisingly, all the dread he felt walking up completely vanishes the second he steps inside. It just looks like a totally normal, kind of cheap hotel lobby decorated for Halloween. He literally sees a printed sign that says, "Room 1 this way, 8 more follow, reach the end and you win." David actually laughs out loud. He thinks it's a joke. He reaches out and he opens the first door.
Now we see the house perfectly utilize what we call the boiling frog method of escalation. Room 1 is almost laughable. We're talking paper ghosts and super cheap animatronic zombies. Room 2 steps it up just a tiny bit with some fog machines, an animatronic bat on the ceiling, and this eerie, sourceless soundtrack playing in the background. Still normal haunted house stuff. But Room 3? Room 3 is where the rules of physical reality completely break down. There is only a single chair and a lamp in this room, but David looks down and sees multiple shadows cast all over the floor. He starts to panic, turns back to the door, but of course, it's locked. When he looks back at the room, all the extra shadows are gone. But then he realizes something genuinely horrific. His own body is no longer casting a shadow.
Absolutely terrified now, he flees into room 4, only to be plunged into absolute, sensory-depriving darkness. Out of nowhere, this unbearable, deafening humming sound starts to vibrate, shaking him right to his core. Stumbling blindly, he makes it into room 5, and suddenly, the ceiling is gone. It's been replaced by massive, towering trees. He's somehow in an endless forest, indoors. Then he feels a mosquito bite. Just one. Then, thousands. He's thrashing, rolling around, desperately clawing at his own skin to crush these phantom insects that are completely covering his body. He's forced to crawl through the dirt in pure agony. And this right here marks his initial, devastating psychological break. He finally manages to escape into room 6. Oddly, it looks exactly like room 3, but with a deeply haunting visual waiting for him. Against the far wall stands a little blonde girl with piercing blue eyes, wearing a white dress.
but she is standing right over this massive, hulking creature that has the head of a ram and the snout of a wolf. Both of them just stare dead at David. And then, without moving their mouths, they whisper in unison directly into his mind, "David, you shouldn't have come."
Pushed totally past the brink, David scrapes frantically at the walls until his fingers bleed, finally finding a triangular depression. He pushes it. A door marked 7 swings open, and he steps through. And guys, he's outside. He's literally back outside. He did it. He escaped. Completely forgetting about the $500, he sprints to his car. He drives all the way home. He gets inside, takes a hot shower, and just tries to breathe. Just trying to recover from the absolute nightmare he just somehow survived. But that sweet relief is shattered almost instantly. He goes downstairs to pet his old cat, but the animal viciously attacks him. Confused, he walks into his living room and just stops dead in his tracks. Laying right there in the center of the room are his parents, and they are completely mutilated. Their limbs are severed and sickeningly rearranged, their detached heads just resting on top of their torsos, and the absolutely most twisted part of this whole scene, their faces are locked in these wide, ecstatic smiles, like they are overjoyed to see him. Then, he looks across the living room. Right where a normal wall should be is a door with a massive number 8 painted on it in wet blood. The gut-wrenching truth washes over him. He never left the house. He is still in the game. Through this blinding, suffocating panic, that deafening hum returns, vibrating so loud it threatens to literally collapse the walls of his house. David forces himself through that blood-stained door into room 8. Sitting in a single chair in the center of the room is a man. But as David takes a step closer, the dread peaks. He realizes the man sitting there is himself. It is an exact duplicate. The copy is weeping uncontrollably, rocking back and forth in this raw, tragic despair, just pleading over and over, "Please, you're going to hurt me. I don't want you to hurt me." As he's staring at himself, David notices a really horrific juxtaposition. The only physical difference between him and his crying double is that the double is wearing a shirt with a red number 9 stitched right onto the chest. And sitting on the floor right beneath the chair is a knife attached to a little tag that reads, "For David, from management." It clicks. To escape to room 9, David has to take that knife and butcher his own double. As David slowly grabs the weapon, his double suddenly stops crying, stands straight up, smiles this malicious, evil grin, and says, "I'm going to keep you here." David tackles him, plunges the knife deep into his chest, and instantly falls forward into pure blackness. Let's step away from that bloody scene for just a second, because we need to clinically unpack the research from Michoacan University. How do stories like this scientifically hack our psychology so effectively? Well, they do it through a concept called forged evidence. The NoEnd House relies heavily on this first-person, highly detailed blog-style confession of a completely average guy. It systematically takes the supernatural and forcefully grounds it in the mundane, everyday world. For example, the infamous Smile Dog perfectly captures another powerful method of forged evidence. This story centers around a supposedly terrifying image of a husky with human teeth, along with a bloody fingerprint. The narrative boldly claims that just viewing this file causes extreme paranoia, horrible nightmares, and will eventually drive you to suicide unless you spread the word and forward the file to someone else. It's demanding active interaction, using a manipulated digital photo to threaten you, the viewer, directly. And of course, we absolutely cannot talk about digital lore without discussing this entity. Notice how seamlessly inserting a supernatural figure into a completely mundane vintage playground photo completely shatters that boundary between a harmless internet story and real-world terror. Slender Man was actually created back in 2009 on the Something Awful forums by a guy named Victor Surge. It was literally just an entry for a Photoshop contest. Yet, by adding fake police captions and bogus historical dates, it sparked this massive collective mythology that, as we unfortunately know, eventually crossed over into some very terrifying real-world consequences. When we look at the data from university researchers, it shows how this specific format of storytelling absolutely dominated internet culture. Look at this massive spike. It peaked globally around 2014, which is exactly when stories like NoEnd House, Pen Pal, and Slenderman were being widely shared and adapted all over YouTube and Reddit. The sheer volume of collaborative world-building that happened during this window is frankly staggering. So let's distill all of this down. These 4 pillars are exactly what makes digital folklore so incredibly potent.
First, you have an immersive first-person narrator who seems just like you or me. Second, you inject forged evidence that forces the brain to second-guess reality. Third, you demand active participation, where the audience is actually doing the work to spread the myth themselves. And fourth, crucially, you leave them with an ambiguous, unresolved ending that implies the threat is still out there, lurking. Returning to our descent, these exact mechanics perfectly describe the climax of NoEnd House. After plunging the knife into his copy, David falls straight into room 9. But room 9 isn't a room at all. It is literally nothing. It is a pure, sensory-deprived void. He feels no gravity, hears zero sound, sees absolutely no light. He is just floating in this endless limbo, trapped alone with the mental image of his mutilated parents and the realization that he just committed murder. He hangs in this void for days, and eventually it breaks his spirit completely. He just gives up.
But then, just as he loses all hope, a tiny light appears in the distance, the classic light at the end of the tunnel. David suddenly feels solid ground form right beneath his feet. He starts walking toward the light, terrified this is just another trick, but he opens a door and finds himself stepping right back into the original, cheap Halloween-decorated lobby where he started. Sitting right there on a small table rests a crisp white envelope with his name on it. Inside is a handwritten note from management congratulating him on his great achievement. And folded inside with that note are 5 crisp $100 bills. David stares at the money and he just begins to laugh. But it's not a happy laugh. It's this maniacal, completely broken laughter. Despite the unimaginable psychological torture, the complete loss of his sanity, and the sheer, unadulterated terror, he actually did it. He conquered the ultimate psychological gauntlet, and he won the prize. Clutching the cash, he walks right out the front door, gets into his car, and drives home, still just laughing like an absolute lunatic. The nightmare is finally, truly behind him. He pulls into his familiar, safe driveway. He walks up the concrete pathway to his front porch. He reaches out his hand to open his actual front door, desperate to just go to sleep. But as his hand nears the brass handle, he freezes, because etched right there, directly into the solid wood of his front door, is a small number 10.
The realization hits him like a ton of bricks. It's devastating. He never escaped. There is no end. And this brilliant, gut-wrenching twist perfectly illustrates the academic theory we just unpacked. Like the house itself, these internet legends are meticulously, intentionally designed to trap your mind indefinitely. They thrive on that ambiguous, unresolved cliffhanger. They leave the protagonist, and more importantly, you, the reader, stranded in a perpetual loop of paranoia, which leaves us with the ultimate goal of digital folklore. Listen, the point isn't just to tell you a scary story. The point is to make you look at your own seemingly safe surroundings differently. So as we wrap up this explainer, I have to ask you a question. When you turn off this screen, stand up and look at your own front door. Are you absolutely sure you're safe in your own home right now?